Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Perspective Checks, where I sit down with friends and folks from the TTRPG community to talk about all the things we love about this shared hobby, and all the ways we each bring our own thing to it to make it a little more unique. Today, I am joined by TTRPG designer, actual play GM, performer, cosplayer, and that's just to name a few, Meadow. Meadow, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. I've been waiting to have this conversation for a month or two, so I'm so excited.
Yes, I know we booked this, and it's something I've been looking forward to a lot, and it allowed me to dive into some of your stuff, and no spoilers because I have a very natural segue question that we will get to momentarily. But before we talk about the topic that we're going to talk about today, I got to start with the three opening questions for this interview that I do with everyone, just to get to know you and so people know what you're about. The first is basically, how long have you been a nerd? How long have you been playing TTRPGs or been around the hobby?
I have only been playing TTRPG since COVID, so about 6 years.
When you said that, but then followed with 6 years, like my brain just kind of like skipped a beat. That was weird.
Right? It's like, because it was the disease that ate several years. So it spanned a really large time, but it feels like so close. So it was about 6 years ago. I have loved TTRPG since the second I saw other people playing them, and I have been obsessed with them since I played my first game. So my hyper focus narrowed in and never widened again. Blinders on the entire time.
So, okay, and now I have to ask clarifying questions. You loved them from the first time you saw someone play it. Was that before you got to play yourself?
It was. I watched Dimension 20's Fantasy High. It was the first season of Fantasy High. I was like, okay, so these people don't know what they're doing either. This is the only way I'll ever be able to get it. Yeah. And I laughed so hard, and I ended up crying towards the end, and I was so moved, and I was like, I have to do this. I have to tell stories with people like this. I have to have fun like this. And the very first time I played was at an event that was made for people to learn. So it was at a massive mead hall in Nashville, and there were like 20 tables, 20 GMs, double that amount of players, and it was a really fun time. I was addicted from the very first time I let the D20 out of my hand.
It's such a good story. And I have a theory about, like, I've interviewed quite a few people for this series, and it's really funny to see the people who I'm like, when did you start playing TTRPGs? And some will be like, oh, I played like in middle school in like the name year, right? And it's like, oh, okay, like you were introduced young, and there's like a certain kind of, I don't know, experience that they've had. And then I've met a lot of people who obviously started around COVID because we were all shut in and we had to find something to do, and it's something you could do over Zoom. But like, I also have a theory about like Dimension 20 and Critical Role, like which one you got in on. Like, it's really funny because they are so structurally different. Now there's a lot of blend over of the two and whatnot. But I loved the first time I saw Dimension 20. I was like, oh no, this is way more my jam. Like, like hour and a half, right? Like you know, one
nice and tight.
Yeah,
here we go.
And also, like, you know, one episode is just going to be like role play and shenanigans for story, and then the whole next episode is just going to be the combat, because that's just how D&D works, right?
Yes.
And I was like, oh my god, I love this structure so much. Like, I really,
right? We're really leading up to something, and then we deal with it. We deal with it. And then we're leading up to it.
Yeah,
so good.
Yes,
so good.
I've trained my home group to like stop being the 4-hour sessions, and now we're just like a tight 2 hours is like all we get, because they come down and they know, like, if we got 2 hours, we have to get something done. You know what I mean? It's great. All right. Well, that's awesome. And you started with D&D, but, you know, you've branched out quite a bit, I imagine.
I branched out, but not quickly. I played D&D almost exclusively for about 2 of those years.
Yeah.
And then joined a local community in Atlanta that met up every week, multiple times a week at different bars in the area, just to play one-shots with each other. So people would bring whatever they wanted to play. So sometimes there are far more players than GMs. So GMs bring whatever they're going to run. And you
Yes,
get to sit in and play.
That is the way it should be. No offense.
It absolutely should be that way
Yeah.
when someone's volunteering their time.
Yeah.
So I got to play a lot of really cool indie systems. And the second I did, I was like, oh, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I can do that too. And that's been my whole life. No matter what, when I'm interested in something, I want to try it in all its forms. I want to wear all the hats. I want to have a dress up montage of every part of that hobby in a mirror of hats. And I have not stopped since I started. So yeah, I very much enjoy the physical being in the room with other people aspect, the community building aspect of D&D. And I thought for a little bit too long that D&D was the main factor, not the storytelling. So once I discovered indie TTRPGs and like one pagers and like solo TTRPGs, it was over. I have rarely looked back. When I play D&D, it's because I'm playing with friends who are also playing it. I've never sought it out since. And because there's so much world to explore. What an incredible island to have lived in my first grown-up apartment in. But as an exploring spirit, as someone with adventure in their veins, I have to go looking at other worlds, at other ways to tell stories. If I didn't, I wouldn't really be a TTRPG player. We are adventurous by nature. We are curious by nature. The people who are stubbornly clinging to one system are actively ignoring the spirit of the game they're holding on to. So I love any new game I can get into, even if I end up not liking the game.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. I've played a few games with my friends. We I'm part of a streaming group. I'm rarely able to get linked up with them nowadays because I have a little human who has gotten stuff to play at night for long stretches of time now. But we've played a few systems where like we'll play them and we'll be like, yeah, I hope we did that justice, and like we hope that was enjoyable and it was fun. And it's funny because I'll be like, meh, you know what I mean? Like that, like I'm not gonna play that game again. But I
you
learned
played
something.
it. You tried it. Yeah,
tried it, learned something. Honestly, you either go like, oh, I liked that mechanic, I just don't like how they implemented it, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
yes.
And I have played so many games like that. And as someone who likes to design games for fun, playing other games, it's the same thing as writing. Like you cannot be an illiterate author. You have to read.
Yeah.
You have to read like you need it to breathe. If you're going to write books for other people, and it's the same thing with games. If you've only ever played D&D and then you jump into designing a game, you're going to design D&D. You're going to just make another D&D.
Yeah.
So it's important to love other games. It's important to love the story of it rather than the mechanics attached.
So speaking of other games, what have you been playing lately?
Ooh, everything. I have been playing some Thirsty Sword Lesbians as always. It's one of my like tried and trues because it so heavily relies on the mechanic of relationships and emotional growth and emotional change and what happens when you reach an emotional impasse internally. And there are several questions built into it that are made specifically to bring out an introspective aspect to your role play, which is usually something you have to bake in yourself. So it's nice to be reminded that there are ways to keep in touch with who your character is. Thirsty Sword Lesbian is always great. Love Candela Obscura. Gosh, there's so many. Daggerheart has been on my mind lately because I'm in a Daggerheart campaign. Yeah,
okay.
I'm in a Daggerheart campaign that's incredible. I have thoughts. I am so glad that Daggerheart is here because I can see the trajectory of its additions, of its growth, of its like, and it desperately needs that growth, but not too quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to have the growth spurt of absolutely. Yeah. People need to play it. It needs to be critiqued. It needs to be pressure weighted. It needs to be tested in this edition the way it is rather than like rushed to be patched as other systems try to do. So I think it's better for Daggerheart to wait because I love it. It's very charming. It's solid. It needs more branches on that tree, honestly.
It's funny because I've read Daggerheart and I have it and I've thought about like it feels like a game that, while it doesn't have an explicit solo mode, because again, I'm primarily a solo player for the podcast, and I always think like I want to play games that people have heard about, and like I also want to play games no one's ever heard about, so that way people hear about them. But like Daggerheart's one where the mechanics with like the hope and the despair seems to me like where I was like, I don't know if I need a GM for this game. Like I really don't think there needs to be one.
I don't think you need one.
Yeah, and I was like, this is cool. There's a lot of good ideas here. And then I was like reading it, and I agree. And I like how you thought about that, where it's, I think this needs another edition, but we don't want to talk about them kind of like leaving this one behind. They just need to like get the data on what people are doing with it. Because the setting, like the kitchen sinky, like everything is here, was what kind of like made me go like, well, then I don't really know what I would do with it yet. You know what I mean? Like it almost needs more. It needs to refine its identity, but at the same time, like I really liked what I was seeing from it.
Yeah, it's got good bones. It needs refinement. And I think that will come with time. It's really not a critique of it. It's just an observation after playing like, I don't know, 30
here we go.
sessions.
Here we go. This is going to be one of the ones where you're going to be like, you know what? I don't want people coming at me, Daggerheart.
Luckily, I love Daggerheart. The art is, first of all, let's talk about the art. The art's incredible.
Amazing.
And the fear and hope dynamic helps me flavor my roleplay in new ways, which always earns points for me. If any new system can make me think of acting through a character in a new way because of the mechanics of the game, I'm on that train. I'm so there.
Well, that segues perfectly to the segue question that I always ask my guests, which is, what are we going to be talking about today?
Weird games and weird ways to tell stories with those games.
Yeah. Yes. You are, like you said, you like to make games for fun. And one thing that I love about everything I've seen in your games is you love to use like your own mechanics. Like, like you use mechanics or come up with mechanics that I've not seen in other games. Like you really like either underutilized or totally unique systems. So, and like that to me is awesome, because there's plenty to be said of like, this system's great at doing this thing. So like, I want to tell this story and I've never noticed anybody built a game here. I could just use that. And there's certainly good reason to do that. But it's funny in the indie TTRPG scene, how, especially like 15 years ago, it was like everything was a PBTA game.
Yeah.
Like 8 years ago,
Powered by the apocalypse. Grab your 2d6.
Yeah. and I'm a huge PBTA fan. Like I honestly love it, right? It's really great. And then like, 8 years ago or whatever, it was like, oh, here come all the Forged in the Dark games. You know what I mean? Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do feel like it almost, when you're writing that, like, this is the hot new thing, it almost stifles people's interesting new creativity in games.
Agree.
And, yeah.
I agree.
I guess I have a multi-part question here. One is, besides just doing it for the sake of being unique, what is it that inspires you to always find the mechanic for the game that you're making?
I think being a connoisseur of so many weird TTRPGs means that whenever I see a story that could be told, my brain immediately goes to the Rolodex of all of the TTRPGs I've read or played or heard about or backed on BackerKit. So it immediately goes through. And if I can't find it in there, I go, I can make that. I can figure out how to tell this story. I can figure out how to allow other people to tell this story. There's a hole here, and I can patch that with something really weird. It's not going to be patched with like regular cement, but I promise it'll hold. It'll be weird to look at. It'll be like an artistic addition to your city. So I feel like carving out places for ourselves in stories, in communities like the TTRPG community, and in the grand scope, history is all about doing it in our own way. And I love the challenge of trying to find ways to tell stories that other people haven't thought of before. I was terrified as a young kid of the idea that all original ideas have been had already. That was told to me far too young.
Yeah, it's not a good
And
lesson, huh? It's really not. I mean, it's supposed to be.
It's not.
It's supposed to be one of those things that takes the weight off your shoulders, where you're like, oh, it's cool.
Yeah.
Nothing new under the sun, as they say. And it's like, really? Because
What do you mean? I
Bummer.
have an explorer spirit.
Yeah,
I have an adventurer spirit. I want to find something new. I want to discover something. I want to feel wonder.
Mhm.
And so telling me that all the wonder is all used up, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find more wonder. I'm going to figure it out. We're going to make new wonder. In fact,
Wonder
maybe
mining.
you just can't. Yeah, we're wonder maxing it over here.
Wonder maxing. There we go.
We're going to figure it out because I can. I was told I couldn't.
Yeah. Sometimes, honestly,
And
that's the best thing, right? It's like,
that's
oh yeah,
all it takes
watch
for me.
Yeah.
I have a very watch me energy. I have a very hold my beer energy
Yeah.
when it comes to stories, because stories are unlimited. So to tell a kid who believes that stories are the only true form of immortality, that there's no more creativity around, that kid's not going to believe you. And kids grow up to be way more stubborn than their kid counterparts. There's always more stories to tell. And I am delighted every single time I figure out a new way to do it. It scratches an itch in my brain. It makes me excited to show it to new people. Sean from a channel called Help Action Needed has debuted several of my games because I run straight to Sean and I go, I did it again. And he's like, another new game.
Made a thing. I mean,
and we run it.
Yeah.
It's
that's awesome.
Any way I can. I have the support. I have friends who are incredibly talented at telling stories and who are enthusiastic about finding new ways to do it as well. So when you have the support system in the community around you that's just as passionate as you are, it's not even hard to do. It's just an extensive amount of labor.
Yeah, I mean, imagine too, because it is important, right? I think that obviously is a huge factor, right? To be an incentive to be like, I know I have people to bring it to, and I don't have to sell them on it. I don't have to be like, I don't have to be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, we're, take notes. We're going to do this, this, and this. Like, they're just like, I'm on board. Whatever you say, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Like, that's an absolute boon to just wanting to develop something. But even if you didn't have that, I mean, like, I think, to me, I also have like I've put out a few games and they are like based off of SRDs because I'm like, okay, either for a game jam or for what have you. But like I have a lot of games in development that like I enjoy figuring out the puzzle or cracking that nut. That's just like, there's something there. I know there's something there.
Yes.
And like,
it's the mad genius tickle. It's what I imagine makes cartoon geniuses like their hair stick up like they've all been electrocuted.
Yeah.
It's that eureka static. Mm-hmm. It's there. It just needs to connect. Static can't go anywhere until there's something to connect to. So you're looking for it. It's that touch point. And it happens like magic. And I love that feeling. I chase that feeling because I know good stories can come of good ideas. So if my idea is good enough, if it's solid, if the mechanics support it, then I can help other people tell stories, which is
it's the goal.
I guess the goal, the true goal is getting everyone telling more stories. That's how the world was born. That's how, history gets told. Like there's nothing more important to me. Bard at heart, I suppose.
I couldn't agree more. I actually said this so this is a very overtold story here on my podcast, but I will never get sick of it. I started a lunch game at my work, and it started with a few people who saw me prepping a D&D campaign at lunch, and they walked over and they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, prepping a D&D campaign. Like I run it for the library, like my local library. And they were like, oh, cool. Can we do that at lunch? I've always wanted to try it. And it was like 3 people. And I was like, well, we're not going to play D&D because we have like 45 minutes for lunch. So it's not going to happen, but I will bring in another game. And I brought in a generic fantasy PBTA game. And I was like, we can do a lot in a little bit of time with this. And that table ballooned to 11 players over the course of a 3-year campaign that just wrapped up. But so the long story short here is, one, wanting to tell a story is huge. And like, I'm in the process of writing my first book right now, but like, I find collaborative storytelling is so much more satisfying. Like it is so fun. Like your static analogy is so perfect because it really is like, you might have this crazy idea, but like, it's only going to get better or spread wider or make a shape that you didn't expect it to make when it bounces off other people. Exactly. And then you're seeing a new thing from your idea and you're like, oh no, that's way better. We're going to go with that.
Exactly.
Like follow. And it is really, it's just and one of my players, so one of the people who joined was like really shy. And I run my game very writer's room. So like I will get to a new place and I'll just look at somebody and I'll be like, you're the person who's been here the longest. You tell me about this place. Like, tell me about this like city. Like, I have some rough ideas, but you get to tell me a bunch of like, we're going to make them canon details. And this person just looked at me and she was like, I'm not good at telling stories. And I was like, no. It's literally like the most human thing there is. You can do it. Unlock your child. You can, I promise. And over the course of the campaign, I think she came out with some of my favorite random lore that we ended up just coming up with, because she like, once she got over the fact that she was like, I can say anything. Like, people have said some wild stuff at this table. Now that I've been here and I know, I'm gonna say this thing, and it's like, there we go.
Collaborative storytelling gives all of us, but especially those of us who are yet to be comfortable with it, license to be our freest kid. And some people had childhoods where you couldn't be the freest kid, you know, you had to have, you were under strict surveillance. You had a lot of rules. You had, you were a good kid or you were a really, really bad kid. And so you had a lot of rules, you know, like kids were at some point to a lot of people something to be managed, unfortunately, which is just not the truth. So a lot of kids stuff down those kid whimsy urges, and we have to wait until we are old enough to unbox them ourselves. And D&D and TTRPGs in general, just such a beautiful way of opening those boxes again, because you can see that moment where it clicks, where someone gets it. Where like, oh, I'm playing pretend.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I have a sword.
That is all we're doing, right? Yeah, we are like, it is funny. I've seen that too, where somebody just goes like, oh, like, you could tell some people like get nervous and they're looking at the sheet and they see numbers and they're like, okay, so this is a game and I got to win this game. And then you break that wall down and you just go like, no, forget the numbers. Like, really, like, seriously, forget that piece of paper. Just tell me what in your mind. Pretend you are this, whatever you are. For the sake of our conversation before we went on, before I hit record, pretend you're the ranger that doesn't suck with that piece of paper right in front of you. What would that person do, you know? And sometimes they go, oh.
I love that moment.
So, quick follow-up question on that. Why do you think people don't take the time, or maybe it's not even about taking the time, but like, why don't you think more people give themselves the opportunity, the chance to find or make like an underutilized mechanic? Like, is it just that it's too easy to be like, oh, there's an existing system that does this? But
I think it's the same reason that people don't look for new best friends when they have one.
That's a good.
You're happy with your best friend. You know them extremely well. Do you know what pain in the butt it's going to be to have to get to know a new person to that depth, for them to get to know you, for you to grow to love them and build the type of memories that you've built with your real best friend, your first best friend? Do you want to abandon that best friend and then go spend effort and time with a whole new best friend? Because that's what it feels like. People, when something helps you unlock your inner child, people cling to it. It becomes the thing that protected you, and so you want to protect it back. And unfortunately, that ends up closing a lot of doors for you, because protection looks like closed doors from someone inside a room. So when you're outside, protection doesn't look like a lot of closed doors. So it's about getting people to come outside. It's about getting people to make new best friends. It's about getting people to not just realize that they have an inner child. It's about getting that child to go play, because that's scary for kids. It's very scary.
That's another wonderful analogy that I love a lot. It's the time and effort to like get to know this person that you're hoping might be the best friend, or the thing that you're looking for to do something that unlocks something in you. But you know, you have to not focus so much on your existing relationships, but that's not even really always what it is. And you know, knock down the wall, right? I often refer to D&D, the D&D of TTRPGs, as like a walled garden. It looks really nice on the inside. It looks infinite. It looks like it has all these things. But what you don't know is that if somebody's on the other side of that wall, they're looking at it going, they have no idea how little that is. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. I like that.
So, speaking of all these unique mechanics and ideas that I'm going to use you here as the example because you are the guest, but that you just are like, I needed to do this. I needed to make this. I just wanted to like go through some of the interesting mechanics that you've made for some of these games that are so fun. And genre clearly does not intimidate you to be like, I'm going over here now. You know, you have a Regency romance game, which I love. So I Proper Yearning is your game, and I really like how you have like a push-pull mechanic.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, it's you swing between ire and yearning are the two terms you use, but it does make all the sense in the world where like you watch these pieces of media or these stories that you're familiar with, and it is funny how like all of these people are always like somehow like on the edge of a knife where it's like you never know if they're like this close to falling in love or like they're just gonna lose it on this person. And you recognize that.
I always use the Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley one, the scene in the gazebo in the rain where they're like he's proposing. She's angry.
Pissed, yeah.
They're this close away. She says no. They both look at each other's lips. And then they go in the opposite direction. I think it's ridiculous. And I love the
It is. It's over the top, but it's great.
It's so good. And we live for those moments. Those are the hand flex, the moments we don't quite see people connecting. And I think we call those lines in the game your heartstrings because they are being pulled and pushed in these different directions. And I've seen someone nearly get to hatred, full ire with someone. And that person ends up being their soulmate after they share secrets with each other and they run into each other enough times and that other person helps them out a couple of times. And, you know, it becomes a slow burn of a romance and it's very, very fun. Proper Yearning is one of my favorite games and one of the ones that's one of the most collaborative efforts. And I've been so proud to work with, Nikki, who is the Goblin GM, usually like online, and Nikki's just a absolute curator of yearning media and all sorts of different archetypes that she brought to the table, and she play tested a lot for me and has been. It's never just me. It may look like it's just me, but it's collaborative storytelling, even in collaborative design. And there's so many ways that my games have changed. After I design them, set them down, I publish them, and then people start playing them. They buy them, they take them home. I get messages and I'm like, you're so right. This would be so much better if I tweaked it this way. So Proper Yearning has 2 editions. There's Proper Yearning in a Time of Uncertainty, and then there's Very Charming Proper Yearning in a Time of Uncertainty, which adds a magic mechanic so that it gives more a court of Fae and Flowers, I believe was the Dimension 20 Regency romance campaign. It gives more of that when there's magic involved, which is very fun. And I run that West Marches every Monday for a group of like oscillating 11 or so that are falling in and out of love with each other at any given week. It's very fun.
I love any game like that too, where you can... It's flexible enough that you can just kind of like dip in, dip out, you know, drop in, drop out. And it makes sense within the setting of that game, right? Where it's like, oh, they're back in town. Like, oh, then, okay, we must.
It was so dramatic.
Yeah. I love that. As not to talk other systems here, but like my friend pitched Good Society to me a long time ago. And like when I heard about it, I was like, oh, I'll play it. But like, I don't know if this is me. And like, I read Pride and Prejudice. Again, I do my homework before I play these things. So I read Pride and Prejudice. I read, you know, like, and I was like, oh, I actually kind of really love this. Like that book like hit me out of nowhere. And then we played the game and I was like, oh, I love this. But that's a very like mechanics, the super minimum.
It's so
game.
Heavy. It is so heavy. I mean, the mechanics are easy, but like the setup and keeping track of all those characters phases and like
epistolary and all these things. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I guess I've only ever played it GM-less, so maybe if there's a GM involved, it runs a little smoother. But when you don't know who to look to for what, it's like, what are we doing? Are we gossiping? Are we?
Right. And like and also, you know, it really is just up to the players to be like, okay, I have this token, I give this to you, I'm, you know, monologue or whatever.
Yes.
But like your ire yearning track is such a fun way, and this actually speaks back to something you said earlier, which is like whenever you can find a mechanic that tells you or like helps you find a way to play that character, and like that is exactly what that is, right? Like that is your mood meter when you're interacting with this person, and it's so perfect. And wow, I have a list of your other games here and other mechanics that I love, and we will go through them, but I could gush about a lot of these. Time Heist Jetpacks, timeout. Great name. Before anything else, Time Heist Jetpacks is not just a heist game. It is time travel shenanigans, which I've been trying to crack for a while. Yeah, it's super hard. My time travel game was like, again, I just used like an SRD for mechanics because all I really wanted to do was like draw a map, but I was like, this isn't a map. This is time. But I love you. That's what it was. It was like, imagine like a dungeon map, right? Or like a grid, except
it's all Jeremy Bearimy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you actually like split it, and it's like, this is the future, this is the past, and like, but they're all in the same. Anyway, so like that was my idea. But like then I saw yours, and I was like, oh, this is so much like more elegant. You know, elegant design is a thing that people say, which is like, I don't know how somebody boiled this down to be so perfectly encapsulated.
Thank you.
But it just uses the D10s, and they represent minutes, but they also represent your like the danger of
your
the event.
Skills,
yeah. It's
this. I binge watched Leverage, and then right after I woke up because I had fallen asleep binge watching Leverage, and what was on my screen was the time travel like splitting episode of Rick and Morty. And later that very same day, I went to a thrift store, a craft store. It was like a mix of both. Like people turned in their old craft supplies, so secondhand. And I went with my roommate, and when I was there, I found a bunch of D10 spinners, a bunch of school supplies, and I was like, wait,
hold on.
And what if, and how can? And so I bought all of the D10 spinners. I spent a really long time trying to figure out how to break it down. And I was like, how long does the heist actually take? Can it be 10 minutes? Because I know it's supposed to be like 2 to 3 in and out in a bank, but what about the minutes before and after? What about the minutes in between? And trying to deal with time travel in a mechanical way was the worst thing I've ever done.
It's so hard. Yeah, I can commiserate on that for sure. It's like you think you have this great idea, and then you're like, but how do I make it like feel like not being like, okay, everybody get your pencils and paper out and you know.
Yes. Luckily, it came in the trope itself, because I always look up genre tropes when I'm genre hopping to design a new game. And one of them was sync our watches. And I was like, oh, if you sync at the top of each minute, like at the top of each round, you'll be right back where you are, no matter where you time jump to. As long as you're synced up, you should be fine. Right.
Yeah.
And we've played Time Heist Jetpacks a couple times. It's been played without me, and that was one of the I have never laughed so hard in my life. To have not even a finger in what is going on,
you just
and the
have
chaos
to watch.
just isn't incredible. Incredible. Loved it. No notes. I love that game. I think heists are some of the most, how do I say this? Some of the most effective tension building scenarios you can put in a TTRPG space, because it's timed, which automatically gets your players upset. They don't like to be timed. They want to talk about everything. They want to have,
move it along.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in the heist, there's room for betrayal. There's room for losing your nerve. There's room for everything going wrong. If you have a plan, then of course it goes wrong. It has to. That is the law.
Yeah, I didn't write the rules.
Didn't make the law.
You did actually. You did write the rules, but not not those.
And
rules.
I did say it has to go wrong. Yeah. But above me, that was already in place cosmically. And, you know, Ocean's 11 and seeing movies like Now You See Me and trying to understand what makes time travel that forbidden fruit, that thing that no one can quite get right, but everyone keeps going back for. I couldn't resist. I absolutely couldn't resist.
I will not. We're cruising on time, and there's a lot to get to as well. But just so other people know some of these games, because I mean, I love how we've already talked about Regency Romance. We've talked about time travel heist. Now we're gonna go Tick Tick Bloom is like a miniature nature war game.
Yeah.
Which is, and again, like, I feel like it was funny. Like, I knew I needed to talk to you when I found you on Threads, and like, I've started following you, and I'm looking at all the stuff you do, and I'm like, oh man, these are ideas that I wanted to make like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids game, and then I saw this, and I was like, oh, this is good, this is great, this is so good.
You can so do it as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I did with a channel that I can't say because it's not released yet, but it's coming out. And we did instead of being like vegetables and plants and insects, we did fae who were inspired by those plants. So we did like little people, and it was so cool. If you've ever seen Solar Opposites, one of the later seasons is these people shrunk in a wall, they escape, and so they're living in the Wild West, and so they do like a Western style mini campaign in the backyard. So I would love to do a Tick Tick Bloom in the backyard of the Wild West. I would love to do this Wild West coded. But I'm
gonna write down Solar Opposites. I gotta write that one down.
It's so good. It's about aliens who come to Earth and they try to make their life there until they can, of course, take it over. And in the meantime, the teenage aliens end up shrinking a lot of humans and keeping them in like an ant wall farm because they're cute. And they just want to, they like humans. They think they're cute.
Okay,
and most of the show, the entire B plot of the show, when we're not focused on the aliens of the family, we're focused on the people in the wall, these tiny humans who want to be big again, who want to get out, and who build these different communities. They form new religions. It's like, I love miniature stories. I love miniature stories.
Agreed.
It's so cool to make everything that is familiar to you foreign and new by gigantifying it, or whatever the case may be. So I love that aspect of that show. But I was dealing with a lot of the doom and gloom of the general everything, and I was watching Thumbelina at the same time that I was doom scrolling.
That's quite a combo.
I didn't mean to be doom scrolling. I was just trying to scroll, and doom was appearing in front of me.
Here it comes.
And I went, what if war was fun and whimsical instead? What if, like, when people got hurt, it was just pollinating the air and it was fine? What if this wasn't so impactful in this way? Like, what if we could remove the power from war? And I love Game of Thrones. I've always wanted to play a Game of Thrones game, but people are so attached to their characters that no one ever wants to die. So in Tick Tick Bloom, you get to have like 6 characters at any given time. And the point is that they are your pawns. That's what they're called. They're not your characters. They are your pawns, and you expect to lose them. You make riskier moves that way. You make bigger choices because this character isn't always on screen. When they are, you make the most of your time with them. You see, we opened the game once and an assassination happened in the first 5 minutes. First 5 minutes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And I was like, and this is what the game is for. When you see the game being the game, it's like, it's a rose using a thorn dagger to stab this mushroom man because of this treaty gone wrong. And you're like, yes, this doesn't feel bad. This feels fun. This is creative. We've made the familiar new again. And that's what takes the power away from the things making us sad. The antithesis of that doom is the joy. And so to make joy from doom is the whole point of Tick Tick Bloom. And I love that stupid game. And it's okay if you don't want to play war. I understand. Put down D&D. Sorry.
Yeah,
if you don't want to play war,
there's
cool.
plenty of games out there that will not force you to war. But if you're gonna force war, make it funny is a way better approach, I think.
Make it silly. It silly. Like, I think we all deserve some relief, and I think we can do that collaboratively. I don't think you have to exclusively play cozy games to get a cozy feeling. I think, again, Dimension 20, Crown of Candy was incredibly dark and moving and emotionally grounded and silly as heck. It was the silliest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it was still all of those intentional, beautiful things. So you don't have to compromise always. And I think that's where Tick Tick Bloom came from. I was trying to make that possible and bridge that gap in more than just one way.
I think that And I said this to somebody again recently. Again, my brain's been on Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings because I've been prepping for my One Ring series that I recently started at time of recording. But one of the things about the movies, the trilogy of Lord of the Rings, because when it was made, there really was not like a fantasy movie market, or like, even like this was pre-Marvel. This was
Yep.
unfamiliar, what some people might call silly. Because at the time, if you told somebody you're gonna like take this person in a dwarf costume, you know what I mean, like a Gimli seriously, and this person in a elf costume, they're gonna actually be badass. People would have been like, yeah, no, I don't think you could sell that to me.
Yeah.
But it took everybody making that movie to be like, we're not half-assing this. Like, we are full sending.
Absolutely.
We're all 100% in. And it's going to have those like hard moments where like, if you get like, here's the thing, if you walk into Lord of the Rings, and obviously I'm biased in this, I will like walk in at any moment and be like, ready, let's go. But like, if my parents who didn't care, right, walked in on like a scene of like Frodo being wrapped up by Shelob, you know what I mean? Like the spider, they could understandably be like, what is this goofy stuff? But if you've watched everything up until that point, there's nothing not incredibly heavy about that.
Absolutely.
But it is a person playing a 3-foot tall hobbit, you know what I mean, being attacked by. Anyway, so like sometimes you do just gotta like, you can have those moments in a cozy game that are like incredibly cathartic and heavy, right? Or you can have those moments in a heavy game that are just fully silly. But like the thing is, if you're all collaborating on the story and you're taking it seriously, that's when those moments like become really powerful, and like those are the memories, right? Where you're like, again, and then you tell somebody about this. I played this game and it was so funny. I was this mushroom person and I just got stabbed in the back, and like people are like, what are you talking about? But it means something to you. You know what I mean? Like it means something to you.
Absolutely. The first time we ran Tick Tick Bloom on a stream was over on Roll D5, and one of the characters had a corn captain, a colonel, and made it just for the joke, right? Yeah. They needed a pawn to fill out the soldier block, and they popped a corn in there. Oh, okay, that was unintentional. They put the colonel in, and over the course of, they like put the colonel in to die. They fully expected the soldier to do what the soldier would do and like sacrifice themselves and be at the front lines, and they were, and kept surviving and kept making moving decisions with a voice like this. Like it was incredible. It was a masterclass, and it was very, very cool to watch Midnight Hayther do that role, because that was her only joke character. All of the other ones, stone face, serious. The one she came in full cosplay for died first episode. The colonel.
Yeah, right. The one that she was like, I will sacrifice this pawn. No, you will not. No, you
won't.
Fate heard you say that. And guess what? Yes. And guess what?
The dice decided that this is their favorite. So, it's very cool to see how even in your mind, you plan things out beforehand. And that's the fun part of the mechanics aspect of these games. It's not just like, oh, we're going to pretend to be little corn and mushroom. It's, okay, what happens when you roll that die and it doesn't quite add up to what you need? How does that impact you? What does that look like? And I think that is what brings it back to being grounded. And I would defend Tick Tick Bloom with my life.
Now, the last thing I'll say about Tick Tick Bloom was, you're the only person I've ever seen who uses exploding dice in a game where it explodes to the next size up, but then stays that size. And I was like, man, I don't know how that never occurred to me. Cause like the fun thing is, oh, it explodes. I get to go again. It's like, and you get to go up a dice. And then if that explodes and you get to go up a dice, and it's like, no, stay there. Like keep getting crazier and crazier. And
like, make bigger swings now that you have a D20. Why not? And then you roll a 1. It's like you have the army at your back, and then you roll the worst possible. It happens still, right? I've seen people blow up all the way from like a D6 to a D20 in one roll, and seeing what that means in the world.
How do you contextualize this? Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's wild. You just see these people amassing this power very suddenly. You see a bunch of trade coming in. You see a bunch of people walking in looking like they're armed. Like, when did this happen? And it may seem ridiculous, but when you make a game that's supposed to pull a dramatic response, the mechanics should be dramatic. Absolutely.
And now I'm going to go the complete opposite side, because dice can do that. Dice can go crazy. Dice can be swingy. then you have Shriek Peaks, which is, and I think everybody, there's a certain allure to summer camp horror games. I've made
I
one,
agree.
you know, like they're just so good. If you ever spent time at a camp at your life, you're like,
Yep.
formative memories, one, and two, like spooky for some reason. Like there's just a night where you're like, why? I know everything about this place, but like yet, you know, all
Yeah.
the stories about them. But that, I love this, uses a deck of cards. Like everybody has to have a deck of cards. So like card-based games, very different design process and you know, like thinking about how it works. I'm gonna blend this into the next question in my little outline here, which is, personally, I'm very like you. I'm on same wavelength, which is I want to try everything in this hobby, right? Like I want to play all the games with all the different little weird mechanics and be like, oh, that's why this works. Oh, I like this. Oh, I kind of want to make one game of all of them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
So how did you approach designing with cards for Shriek Peaks? And then like, do you also have that I want to make one of every game kind of thing in you, or is it just more about what the game needs?
I do want to make one of every game.
Yeah.
Of every game that hasn't been made yet. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to like try and reskin or redo or improve upon a system that's already been made. Mm-hmm. I don't mind writing within a system that's already been made, but like once it's made, I think that's correct.
Yeah,
that's the system, law as written.
Right.
So operate within the boundary set for you. But if there's something that's missing, if we don't yet have an emoji game, I can make an emoji game. I've already designed it. It's not good. It's very hard. It's like, you can figure out what hasn't been used, use it. I really enjoy, I've written a solo RPG that I haven't released yet. It comes out next month, actually, for palmistry. And you use your own palm lines and you deal with real palmistry to figure out what happens next in the game, because these are your lines. They're already set in stone. So what happens when you can't change your fate and all you can do is read what you're going through? And it's like a reflection of who your character is and what they can and can't do. You might want to attack, but do you have a peace line that crosses over your love line? You can't do that. You have to find a different way to go about things. So I love finding cracks in the wall, and I try to fill those cracks. And cards are awful.
It's so hard.
It's probability based. It's like, I mean, so are dice, obviously, but it's a lot easier to be able to be like, okay, so it's a 1 in 6 chance. It's a 1 in 20 chance.
Yeah.
And it's not just 1 in 52. It's not. You have to break it down into its suits and its colors and its how many face cards. And so it becomes a very different game, quite literally. So, but I couldn't shake how right it felt to use cards for a summer horror camp slasher, because I just watched Yellow Jackets and I'm so easily influenced by whatever I'm watching at the time. So I saw Yellow Jackets, them picking these cards to see who would live and who would die. I felt chilled.
Right.
And I was like, we should be using this, right? We should all be using bloody cards for this game. And I think a lot of that stems from legend, like the spooky feeling you get in a place you know well is because you also know the stories well. You know the worst thing that's ever happened at that lake. You know the staff member that got fired because they were, drunk one night. Like all the ins and outs of everything, which means you know the good and the bad. So you know how bad it can get. And I think building that legend together with the Mad Lib at the beginning.
Yes, I was going to bring that up next with the Mad Lib. That's such a fun thing to do too, right? Is just go around the table. You need to give me this word, this word, this word. And then you build this legend. And now, we know where we're at, what we're dealing with.
I think I was also a little inspired by 10 Candles, which is built to play in person. You can play it online, and I have many times. I love that game. 10 Candles is wonderful and so solemn. But it's supposed to be played in person. You're supposed to be
Yeah.
burning these cards. You're supposed to be blowing out these candles. So this game is very similar. You can play it online, but it's supposed to be played in person because you're supposed to print out the camp maps so you can actually color in where you've been and where the killer is and things like that. You're supposed to actively have a little candle, campfire, whatever. You're supposed to have your brochures in hand folded as they are. There's like something so important about tangibility for horror for me.
That makes sense. I think the tactile experience is one that's often, especially nowadays, right? Where like since COVID, a lot of gaming, not even just how people are playing it, but how they're ingesting it or viewing it or taking it in, is digital. And it's a great thing. My home group moved many states away. Like we're all in different states now and we get to play online still. But like I do miss sitting at a table with them. And like there are certain games that we just can't play because you really do need to be in a proximity with people. Right. And it changes the feel altogether.
Truly does. You should be having s'mores and, playing some spooky cricket sounds and ambiance in the back. And I really want to honor immersive storytelling. It's just not every game needs it. So for me, Shriek Peaks needed it. And it was a delight to be able to make such a multi-stepped game. But I certainly don't make all of my games that way.
Oh, the last thing I'll say about Shriek Peaks is I just have to give a shout out to the hilarious hanky panky rule for healing, because it is the most 80s slasher horror movie thing I've seen just put into a game. That's just the best way to be like, if you do this,
how else are you going to cure those wounds? Right. I never understood how they'd be bloody in each other's arms.
In the middle of this terrifying night.
Come on, Shauna.
Yep. All right. Speaking of, you said you have a solo game coming out next month, which I am very interested in the palm lines concept of this, the mechanics. You do have another solo game called The Hand That Feeds, and less about the mechanics of this, although I literally have it open right now. More about just solo games in general. We've been talking a lot about how important collaboratively telling a story is and how it changes things and how the mechanics can really change how you're interacting with the people at the table and all this stuff. I play plenty of games with people all the time, but like I will never go back to not playing solo games because I've done it so much now. I think there's just a certain introspection that it like forces most solo games. Some do not. Some are very like procedural. But I guess my question is, and we will frame this about The Hand That Feeds. Yours asks a lot of questions about like, what are you willing to give to create something, and what does that take from you? And you never specify what the beast in this game is. So it can be anything that people want to bring to the table to play. What made you think of this for a solo game? And we just talked about Shriek Peaks as a horror game, but like, do you have opinion or thought about why so many solo games tend to latch onto horror as a genre?
I think my best guess would be the answer for why solo games get a horror reaction out of me, which is because introspection leads to discovery. And when you're discovering you, when something is new to you and you're supposed to know you better than anybody. It's suddenly like, oh, wait, no, this feels very familiar in a way that it shouldn't. And it becomes a brand new light shed on you. Or if you're looking at like a wall and your whole life is a tapestry, it's like, I'm sorry, is that a unicorn?
Is that there?
There shouldn't be. No, there's no unicorn. I would have remembered a unicorn there. It's like you're always discovering new things about your tapestry. And I think for some people that can be really scary when you expected to know everything about the subject matter you're discovering. So some people sit down to play a game and then they look up and realize they've been looking into a mirror for 6 hours and it can scare them. I think personally, I wanted to write a solo TTRPG first because I hadn't, and I had played a lot of them, and all of my favorite ones were journaling ones. I really enjoy the art of journaling. I think handwriting, writing with one's hand on purpose, diligently, not only statistically keeps our brain functioning better for longer, but it also keeps your spirit human. There is something so intrinsically real about writing with your hand. And so I wanted to play with the idea of what it means to give and never take. What are you giving for? Why are you giving it? What does it look like when something takes from you? And there are like questions in there that don't get asked very often, because people who give often usually give naturally. And so they don't get questioned about why they give. This is how people pleasing becomes rampant. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that people who don't give very easily never ask those questions either, because they don't give. They're the takers. So I think there's something necessary about this specific type of introspection coming from the hand that feeds, because you are never the hand that takes at any point in that game. And it's not about how you reclaim yourself. It is about how you lose it. Like,
yeah, you never do reclaim yourself. Yeah, like there is like, I think it's really interesting too, where like there is a point, right, where you can like multiple times you can reset its appetite track, right? Like you can give yourself some time, right? But there is no end state of this game. That is not, there it goes. Like you got nothing left to give, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really is, I think the Giving Tree kind of inspired me with that. One of like those haunting books of your childhood that you shouldn't pay as deep attention to as you do.
Right, because as a kid you don't, but then as an adult you're reading it going
exactly. And you're like, oh my God, I remember this book. Let me take a look at this. Oh my God. Yeah. And I think I had a lot of people-pleasing tendencies growing up and into adulthood, and it didn't just go away with a little introspection, but it definitely started its deconstruction with introspection. So I really hope that this game is not only like fun and spooky and lovely to play, but also help someone who may need some more introspection in that way. Also, choosing what the beast is important, because for some people, it may be easier to be a monster, a grotesque eldritch horror. For some people, it may be easier to just, hey, this is a mother figure or a child figure or an animal that I want to love very, very badly and won't let me. Like, you get to choose what instills that horror in you. What would you continue to give to even as it never gave back? And what people decide upon is a litmus test in itself of what they put in there. Yeah. What do you put in that chair when it's empty? And it's interesting to see what people have told me they've written about. And I've been deeply moved by what's been shared with me.
Somehow I have a journaling game in development, but I play a lot of solo games, and I've played quite a few journaling ones. And even in the journaling ones, sometimes because I do a podcast, it's like my journal is just talking into a microphone. But I did spend one of the games that I did do for my podcast. I actually did the whole journal, and I handwrote the whole beautiful thing. And I can confidently say it has not been, not even remotely, my most popular downloaded one. But for me personally, it was one of the most experiences that I've had.
Yeah.
Where because normally I'll just sit down and be like, here we go, gonna wing some stuff and flip some cards and whatever. But this was me at work being like, stay away from me. I'm just gonna, for the next hour.
Yes. There's something so immersive about drawing yourself into this literal story or mechanic. And it's intrinsic. It's something that you can't really define, but it happens every time. It's like this magical setting of, oh, I'm writing. And it's like your whole brain gets sucked in.
It's what inspired me to start writing my book, was that every time I've tried to, sitting down at a computer and typing, I get distracted. I open Google, I open thesaurus.com, I do this thing and whatever. I now have like a full notebook written. I write 1 page a day in this notebook, and like once every couple of weeks I go and I type it up, and then I'll flesh it out and it'll get longer. It'll get more
Yes.
involved. I even have like a shorthand now where I'm like, this isn't the word I want, or like
yes,
underline
yes,
this
is
like,
placeholder, or
it has like unlocked things in my mind that I've forgotten about since I don't have to write anything by hand anymore. Like it is really, it's kind of crazy, and it's totally recontextualized the solo journaling game I've had in my brain for a while, actually.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm so proud to hear you say that, because that I spout that gospel at the top of my soapbox as loud as I can, very often, because it is literally scientifically proven. It's not just me feeling romantic about writing. Like it helps you be better creative. So I try to tell people to write with their hand as often as they can. It does something for you.
I will preach your gospel. I will.
Thank you so much. Tell my story.
So we have one other big one to talk about right now, and I've started watching the YouTube videos of this actual play that you're doing, and this is so fun. This is a game that you are still developing, and you are doing an actual play series of it. So it's like you're running it through the ringer live, being played. You know, you never know if something that happens in the episode might make you go, "Oh, I'm revisiting this." But like, I love that we've discovered this, and like now it's the design. This is your game Witchhood. Right?
Yes.
And it's called Hex Heist. If you want to watch the YouTube video, I will link it in the description of this podcast. But I've started watching it. I'm very much enjoying it. It is like urban fantasy, and like you jump off. Like I started episode 1 and I was like, did I miss some context? But then I quickly realized like, oh no, this is intentional. It's like you're dropped right into some drama right after something big happens, and you're kind of discovering it. I love how you framed it. You and all of the players are like discovering it and putting it together. But if you want to talk, this seems to me like maybe your crunchiest game yet.
It is. Oh my God, it's so crunchy.
Okay.
And it is actually the first game I ever wrote.
Oh.
And it was it's the system Fate and Favor, which is the first game I ever wrote, and this is a game in that system. So the system has been refined since originally writing it, and this game, Witchhood, is the first one in the system that is actually strong and holds well and is mathematically balanced and has enough weight to be like a full core book. It's not. I try to make my games as light as possible. You should be able to read through one of my games on like a lunch break. I don't like to keep them heavy. I want you to be able to tell the story as easily as possible, but some games are thicker than that and they have more to chew through. So I, instead of writing a light snack, instead began writing this 5-course meal before I ever wrote my light snacks. And it wasn't ready. It wasn't able to be played because of how I had only played maybe 3 or 4 systems at that time. And I was like, yes, there's something that's missing and I really want to like fill that. I don't know how. And I put it to the side for about 2 years. And Black History Month came around and a channel was hosting games on certain days through Black History Month. All Black tables could apply just to see if we could tell a story. I said, hey friends, want to just see if we can hang out and play a game? Like, it'll be playtesting. I don't even know if they'll let me do that. But do you want to just see if this works? They all said yes, and we did this game. So we had 4 episodes of Hex Heist on the Girls Run These Worlds channel, and it was all live streamed. It was just absolutely a wild time. And by the end of it, they were like, thank you for, all of this was very fun. We were all looking around like, 4 episodes? We should do more, right? No, just you. No, me too. You too. Yeah, we all kind of just understood that we really wanted to keep telling that story. And I really wanted those players to keep breaking my system, because I want the system to be as good as it can be, as tight and as unbreakable as possible. So we kept playing. And that meant moving it over to my channel. I never had a channel. That meant live streaming it on my Twitch. I didn't have a Twitch.
Making a Twitch.
Yeah, I didn't have a producer. I didn't know how to produce. I didn't know how to do anything. So you'll see if you end up watching any more of Hex Heist, like as it goes, like the production value gets better, the technical difficulties get less, and it's because we live streamed the entire first season while not knowing how to live stream at all.
You just gotta jump in the deep end sometimes, you know?
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta pull the ripcord and say the story is good and the people are passionate. And so that's what we've done. And since then, I've gotten back into drawing. So I do the art now for season 2. We're in a completely different location in season 2. I feel like we are so much stronger as a group, and that the system has nothing but benefited from having these incredible people throw haymakers at every inch of the text. I never knew how much it needed people to Red Rover it, you know? Just hold hands and just I need a bunch of people
stress
running
test this,
absolutely. And it has yielded some of the coolest freaking results. I had never thought the game would need to be big enough to be able to level up. So I never wrote level up rules. I wrote this game to run it for 4 episodes. So you're not leveling up. You get what you get. You don't pitch a fit. This is what we have. And instead, it ended up being, we have skill trees now. So you choose your element as a witch, and then you get to choose how you use that magic. Some roads are closed off to you forever. You get to choose what moves you keep, what moves you don't keep. There are so many ways that my players have made my game better and my life better just by being good people. So that helps. But Hex Heist is a joy. It's gotten me back into art, into music, it's gotten me into new things like producing and getting clips and trying out all of these new things that I've never done before and that I was 100% sure I wasn't capable of doing. And the love of this story and of these people made it absolutely possible. It velveteen rabbited this idea I had. I had loved it so much that I made it real. I learned. I didn't let my limitations, because there were many, be the end of Hex Heist, because I loved Hex Heist too much. And to see my players love it and to get sponsors to believe in it and love it and to slowly amass people who like watching it is crazy. We didn't expect anybody to like watching it. We just wanted to keep doing it.
Right.
So the fact that it's well received and doing just fine, it's our first foray into the TTRPG community as a group together, and to be able to do it with our own system, with our own people, with our own art, with our own channel. It's an incredible step forward for where we never thought we'd be. We weren't planning to do this. So to get here is, I don't know, an immense honor. I don't take it for granted at all to have been made better because of collaborative storytelling. And I mean that in every way. As a better person, as a better producer, as a better storyteller, as a better actor, as a better community member, learning how to show up for other people in TTRPG community because of how they've shown up for Hex Heist, and being able to support other actual plays, and to be able to offer producing efforts to my friends now that I couldn't do before. I loved Hex Heist so much that now I can help other people that has nothing to do with Hex Heist, which is incredible. So that's the power of storytelling, and that's why I believe in it. That is why it is the truest form of just love and light and joy for me. Storytelling is the tops, as they said in the 20s.
Yeah, bring it back. We're doing it in the 2020s now too.
Yeah, we're bringing it. It's every 100 years, right? For slang, every 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot, and I love the idea of putting it out there. And then, like you said, the story is the important part. So you're just going to keep doing it. And I think there's a lot of value to watching something evolve too. Like seeing behind the scenes, seeing like people, not necessarily struggle, but like seeing people learn, right? And go like, hey, this is where we were. This is what we're doing now. And like this influenced this, and this made me better at this. Like, I think that a lot of modern TTRPG actual play, a lot of stuff that people put on the internet is so polished, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like a lot of them border audio drama, in my opinion. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, I do want the game though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here for the
Roll the
game
dice.
though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Play it.
yeah. But anyway, this I'm. You feel free to tell me if you do not want to talk about this, or if you want me to edit this out, or whatever. How how meaningful is it? Again, you talked about the community a lot. That this is an all black cast, an all black production, because the TTRPG community, I would love to pretend that everyone is as cool as my friends and
Yeah.
as, open and welcoming as the people that I get to play with all of the time. But then I go online a lot and I see people and I'm like, oh no, like that's a horror story. Like, oh no, like that
Yeah.
table sucks. That person sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is
Absolutely. That's been such an uphill battle, is seeing tables full of either harmful people or people who aren't in the community but bring numbers to the space, or people who have refused to prioritize diversity in 2026, which is a wild thing to hold on to, a wild hill to go out on. It's strange to me because it's never been something anyone's been quiet about. When there's a stink, it's very loud.
yeah,
We
right.
we we say, hey, that person is bad. Don't come around that person. And then somehow that person will end up in like 3 tables at a con. I don't know. It's so strange that it keeps happening. So for Hex Heist to be all black and to be people I absolutely adore, like I know in real life that I enjoy being around and did not know in real life before we did Hex Heist. Like these people became my best friends through this project. Some of them I had only ever met through the screen, and now we have hugged in real life bountiful times,
The best.
which is an
there we go.
incredible blessing to be able to like meet someone after you feel like you've met them a billion times, and then to actually see them in front of you, their lower body, what, you have one, like it's crazy to see people become real in front of you. So
Yeah.
to have that has been not only important, I wouldn't do it any other way. Hex Heist, the first table, had to be all black. Had to be. We needed the space, we needed the time, we needed each other. We needed art that represented our body types and hair types. We needed names that allowed us to enjoy our roots. We needed parents who mimicked our parents. We needed to have hair jokes, and we needed to share our playlists full of rap music. We needed to be able to feel like we were seen by other people.
Yeah.
And Hex Heist allows us to see each other, celebrate each other, and torment each other all at the same time, which is like, that's what the game is about. That's all you want to be able to do, is feel seen, see your friends, and have a good time. That's all we want to be able to do. So Hex Heist is more than a blessing. It is a dream. It feels like I'm living some crazy, incredible utopian version of what like kid me thought adulthood would do, in the worst timeline. It's so weird to feel like my heart is full of rainbows and yet look outside my window, so it's
heads doom scrolling up.
I'm so exactly, and that's what inspires me more. Those are my little acts of rebellion. I mean, I do a lot more, but it's important to not be like, well, then it doesn't matter, I won't write. It matters so much. This is exactly why it matters so much. You have to keep writing, you have to keep singing, you have to keep dancing. If you like plants, please go outside and look at one. Like actually go find one. If you like birds, please look up a bird documentary. Go outside, do something. Like you have to rebel. And sometimes media and our stories that we tell in the TTRPG community make rebellion seem like big speeches, big donations, violence, and rebellion comes in so many forms.
Yeah.
And it has to, because rebellion has to be deeply seated, widely rooted, and to rebel against anything that wants to hurt people and to silence people. You have to be loud. You have to start healing. If they want to hurt, you got to heal.
Yeah.
If they want you quiet, you have to be loud. So like being loud includes telling stories where you're beating up the bad guy. Being loud includes going outside and spinning in a circle if that's what makes you happy. Like if you like being outside and twirling, go do that. You need to feel that joy. Feeling only doom will doom you.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a thing recently about like, part of all this is that they're just trying to constantly hit you over the head with trauma. Like, it's speaking of the world, right? And I'm gonna start huge with the world, right? The doom scrolling, the world, you look out the window outside, we're literally connected to computers that can tell you all the bad news all the time. Some of the best things you can do is just like not let that trauma get to you by going to do something that gets you away from it for a while. I was a certain kind of bio major in undergrad, but I took a ornithology class, and my teacher gave me a bird feeder, and I went home and I set it up, and then I was like sitting on my porch going, "Oh, this is cool. I didn't know there were this many birds." And I was like 20 years old. Like, what was wrong with me, right? I was like 20 years old going, I don't know that, but like, and I'm also of the opinion that I think that once people hit 30. Everyone just starts being like, birds exist. Did you know birds are cool? You know what I mean? But like really, if that's what it takes though, because like to protect yourself, right? Until you're ready to go get loud, until you're ready to go do more like proactive things. And then let's shrink that down to the TTRPG community, right? Where like in your spaces, if there are people who are trying to do awful things, right? Get loud about them. Tell people, shut up, get them, they're not cool, get them out of here. But also like, this whole conversation we've been having has been about how much better stories are when you collaborate, and how much it's important to either like look at yourself or, tell stories and see perspectives. The name of this interview series is Perspective Checks. Like, I want to hear about other people's experiences so that way I can make experiences for other people and myself better, right? So like you said, like in the year 2026, if there are people not prioritizing diversity, like I wish I had the time among full-time work and parenting and all the stuff that I do to have like big tables and like invite tons of people on to like produce these big things. But like, it is insane to me sometimes just to be like that the community is the way it is sometimes when I look at it still, and I'm like, oh man. So I just wanted to ask that question, and I think that I
love Hex Heist. I think the more good people groups we have, the better. The more the merrier. No one's saying don't hang out in this hobby. We're saying don't hang out in this hobby if you have evil intentions.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like that's not hard. Like we're a bunch of like evil slayers, so you don't want to be here. Like in fact, for your safety, you might want to get out of here.
Yeah, right. Like, exactly. Yeah. One of the things that I see all the time where it's just like like anyone's welcome at my table, and I'm like, that's the wrong message. Actually, that's actually the wrong message. You want the good people, right? Like not anyone of like I
want people with discernment who are respectful, who are creative, who are passionate, who want to be here. Like there's so many things to list, and not racist would be up there. It's not everyone. Sorry, not everyone can come to the table.
Right. You know what I mean? I guess, you know what? I'm going to put an asterisk on my episode title, my show title for Perspective Checks from now on. And it's going to be like, only not like there's certain perspectives I'm not interested in actually having on this.
Not all perspectives apply.
Right. Yeah, right. All right. I think that's a good place to transition to closing questions though. Although I have a pre-closing question for you that is not related to our TTRPG stuff that we've been talking about. But we've touched on a lot of things, and actually you've inspired me yet again, because a lot of what you're talking about when you're like, I had this idea for this game when I was watching this TV show, or I woke up and I was watching this thing, or I was listening to this thing. I have a whole other series on my podcast, because again, I can't not talk about ideas when I get them, called Mining Media, which is literally just like, hey, in this episode, I'm going to talk about this show that I've been watching, or this book that I've been reading, or this like anything, right? This movie that I watched, and I want to talk to you about like, don't rip off this thing to just make that blank the game, right? But within that, there are really cool things. Like you were talking about, the whole B plot of this thing is blank. That's the kind of thing that Mining Media was like all about, where it's just like, steal that, right? You know what I mean? Like take your characters and give them like put this B plot somewhere in the world for them to engage with. And you've inspired me to start thinking about new ones of that. But you like I was doing my homework and like, okay, like what does Meadow do? In your little blurb intro, who you are on some websites, you mentioned that you're a big fan of musical theater
Oof,
and
big fan.
reading/writing, obviously. So we've been talking about that a lot. So this is something I've been meaning to ask people a lot. Well, one is, do you have a favorite musical? Do you have a favorite, or like what's
I have a favorite right now.
What's in the
they
constant
rotate.
rotation? Yeah, what's in the rotation right now?
I think right now my favorite musical is Firebringer by the Star Kid troupe.
Okay.
It is a musical about how cave people discovered fire.
Awesome. It's awesome. Okay.
The harmonies are really good. It's not Broadway. So it's Star Kid is an incredible group of theater professionals who are comedians, they're writers, dancers, they're just an incredible troupe of people, and they've been together since like college. So like 15-20 years they've been together, and they make a lot of musicals, and I love a lot of them. They're always free to watch on YouTube. They do run them live and you have to pay to see a ticket live, but they have them for free on YouTube. So any musical you'd like to see from Star Kid, it's free on YouTube.
All right, that's a good one. And then I'm an avid reader. I have an absurd TBR, but I'd like to add, like, I think I'm going to start adding this to my closing questions, which is just going to be like, tell me a book to read. Add a book to my TBR, please.
Can I ask, what is your general vibe? Because I could give a lot of recs, but I want to give one that you'll actually like if you manage to add it to your TBR pile.
I mean, obviously I read a lot of like fantasy and sci-fi, but I try not to read like, I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know what Book Talk is recommending. I do try and read outside of like the last couple years. I've like almost, other than going back to Lord of the Rings for homework for the One Ring, I've almost exclusively tried to avoid white Western Euro centric fantasy. And like I read some like Chinese fantasy. I read some like East Asian like classics. I have a few, like I'm just trying to get like other interesting cultural fantasy, but I also read a lot of like environmental philosophy. Yes.
Have you checked out The City of Brass?
It's on my list. So what's funny is I have not gotten to India yet, as I've been moving in my worldly kind of thing. So I have City of Brass, I have that trilogy, and I have a few other Indian inspired books. Okay, so should I do that one?
I like that one a lot because of the world building and because I got to learn a lot about where things are rooted in the setting descriptions alone were enough to be like not just evocative, truly like transportive. It was really beautiful the way that settings are written. I have critiques,
Sure,
but after you read it, I'd love to talk to you about it.
I will do that. I will move that series
That'd
up
be
my
a lot
TBR
of fun.
for sure. I'll just to return one that's a little different as far as I read a standalone. It's fantasy sci-fi blend called A Leaf the Unseen, which is set in I think it's supposed to be roughly modern day Iraq. I want to say
I've read this book. I've read this whole book.
Okay,
yes.
Did? Okay, I was just gonna say like it's a different kind of.
Actually, that book inspired the book that I wrote called Chaotica, which is the world that Witchhood is set in. Like all of Hexice is set in the world that I wrote books in when I was younger. A Leaf the Unseen, this thing that can see in multiple different dimensions and like auras and like, that inspired my familiar spirits that are familiars to the witches. So I love A Leaf the Unseen and I love that book.
Cool. All right. So there we go. That's one that I've had very few people be like, I'm familiar. So I respect on that.
It's really good. I love that book.
All right, so that's the pre-closing question that I'm going to start adding to my closing questions. But let's go ahead and wrap this thing up here. The first closing question that I ask everybody is: do you have any last bits of wisdom, advice, or homework for the listeners? And that's a big question.
Okay, so homework, yes. Homework, yes.
I always love when people give homework.
I do think it's important to start dicifying your media. So if you've heard all of the tips, your GM tips, your player tips, your usual whatsamacallits, like, yes, and make sure you're actively sharing the spotlight, check on this, whatever, the standard hoopla.
Yeah.
Put on your favorite comfort media, start assigning dice rolls. What was that persuasion check? 10, 11? How do you distinguish between the two? Get very specific.
Ooh.
Watch Buffy.
Definitely watch
Get
Buffy.
Monster of the Week.
Definitely
you don't
watch
have
Buffy.
to do D&D. Do Monster of the Week. When you're learning a new system, assign it to its media that it was birthed from. Diceify it. It helps you, I promise. So just sit down, watch some Adventure Time, which is extremely D&D coded. Extremely. In fact, there's an episode called Secret Dungeon, which is the dungeon crawl episode. You'll recognize actual spells, feats, levels of paladin, specifically like divine smite. If you watch media alongside you learning, it'll help you. It's like that hack that people give to learning a language. It's not about repetition. It's about application. It's about filling in the blanks. That's how you do your homework.
Great homework. I love that. You want to come on for a mining media episode sometime?
I would love to, actually.
Yeah, you know what? Let's make that happen for sure.
I would love to.
You know what? Maybe we'll do a co-read or like a co-watch.
Do you want to do of Solar Opposites?
Ooh, we could do Solar Opposites. Or I was going to say, if you watch Andor, we could do Andor.
I would love to do Andor.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're gonna schedule this. We're gonna figure this out. Okay. Before that, though, we have 2 more closing questions. The last one is, the second to last one is, do you have any games that you've been dying to play that you haven't gotten to the table, or ideas you haven't yet been able to get to the table?
Yes, I really want to play Girl by Midnight. Really bad. I love magical girl systems. I haven't written one yet because I've only read 2, and I think I need a lot more. I need a lot more research and recon before I decide how I want to do a new take on it, see if I can do a new take on it. And also I want to find some media that has new things to say about magical girls and their transitions and their common pitfalls and problems. That's something I'd love to play, and it kind of answers both sides, something I'd love to design that kind of fills in that gap so far. If there is a gap to be had, I'm not sure.
My son, it's funny, I will probably cut this, but my son is 5 and he is on the other side of this wall right now. Maybe not, it's a little late, but we let him watch. We have like a little projector that we put on his ceiling at night so he can just lay there and watch like one episode of a TV show. And lately he's been watching this South Korean cartoon called Catch Teeny Ping. For some reason, that's the one he's wanted to like. We were like, "What? Why'd you pick this?" He was like, "I don't know, I like it." And it's a magical girl show. It's this girl from like another planet or the moon or something like that, and she comes down to this town, and there's all these little things called teeny pings on the loose, and they're like little mischievous pixie fairy things, and she has to catch them before they like wreck the town, and then she can use their powers to change into different magical girl versions of herself. And it's just so funny because like I've never watched a lot of magical girl media, but like my son's been watching it, and like I'll watch a little bit with him at night, and I'll just be like, okay, interesting, bud. Like, okay, like I'm all right. I can see it's almost got like a little bit of a Pokemon to it. It's just
like catching them, then using that power for yourself. I think is very cool. I think magical girl media is untapped for me because I don't actually watch a lot of anime. So I know that's kind of where the magical girl trope lives most often. But I'm more familiar with the cozy magical girls. So things like Hilary Duff when she was in the Casper sequel.
That's a pull. That's quite a pull.
Right?
Was there a transformation in the Casper sequel?
Absolutely.
Okay.
3 of them.
Yes. Enlighten
Again,
me.
I love media so much.
No, this is great.
As soon as she wakes up, she has her wand, which is the size of a K-pop microphone, and she bops herself to change out of PJs and into regular girl clothes so she can go flirt with the paperboy. When they go to vacation, she absolutely uses the wand again to change into vacay clothes, and then finally to impress vacay boy, she changes her clothes a 3rd time in order to look like a full witch and scare him because she's decided that vacay boy is mean and stinky and probably has cooties. So official magical girl live action mostly. You just have to ignore Casper.
That's the best advice for watching this Casper sequel that I've ever heard, which is like, watch this movie, ignore Casper, because it's, you know.
It's really Hilary Duff's magnum opus, if you think about it.
She's kind of having a moment. She's having a comeback right now too. So like
she is. I don't know why.
It's a lot to put on her right now to be like, sorry, you peaked in Casper 2 or 3 or whatever it was. Sorry.
It was 2.
It was 2.
And it's really, really cute. It's a cute movie. I like it better than the first Casper movie, even though the first Casper movie is objectively better.
Doesn't mean you have to like it more.
Exactly. That's true. Yeah. And I don't.
Yeah. All right. And our final question is not even a question, but Meadow, tell people about what you got going on and where they can find you on the internet.
Oh, howdy. Well, I am Meadow. I have been Meadow and will hopefully continue to be Meadow in the future. You can find me everywhere on the internet that matters at HowdyLoveDarlin or HowdyLoveDarlin GM. If you're interested in any of the weird games we talked about, you can find me on my Patreon at Meadowlark Games, where all of those games and more are available online for your weird storytelling pleasure. You can also find me Fridays on my Twitch channel at HowdyLoveDarlin, where we are doing Hex Heist, Wandless, and Wired every single week, and in between, where we'll be doing reruns. You'll see me playing games that scare me. I am a wimp. And you can also find me playing in Tuesdays on the Crit Hit Chronicles channel on the Bitten Crew, and Wednesdays on the Forgotten Adventures channel for Fears and Fortunes, a horror D&D campaign. I have really enjoyed being here. This is such a delight. Thanks for talking to me about my silly, weird little games. This has been so fun, and I can't wait to come back for Andor.
We're making it happen. Thank you for making silly games. And wow, you play a lot of games. So
I do.
Go click those links that will be in the description of the podcast. Meadow, thank you so much. And as always, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode with Meadow, and please do go check out all of Meadow's great games over on her Patreon, as well as her YouTube channel, her Twitch. I'm going to have all those linked in the description. She is a wonderful mind in this community, and I really hope that we can reconnect and get this Andor mining media done. I still haven't even watched Andor Season 2 yet, so gotta get on that. And we're going to keep the outro real short this time. Do that homework, start watching your favorite media and assigning some dice rolls, and start thinking about how media influences gaming and how you can turn that into better experiences at the table. Oh, and find that thing you love and rebel loudly.